All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm your host, Chris Control, and we are live from the 704 once again for episode 218. And listen, it was the day of reckoning yesterday. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. It was the day of reckoning for Khalil Roundtree's face. It was the day of reckoning for your favorite college football team. Very, very likely, unless you were one of the lucky ones that did not get upset the week of the upset, 2024. So, murder scene on your man tonight, to quote Drizzy. In college football, UFC was very, very brutal. Bad Blood was very, very brutal. We're not even going to be talking about that, but I mean, that Drew McIntyre CM Punk match was crazy. And then the final boss showing up at the end. We also had plenty to talk about, the industry finale and some stuff that happened, and little drops of music. It's going to be a really big week coming up, though. We'll talk about that for 219. And we got some playoff baseball and playoff WNBA action to talk about in the Roundup. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we got plenty to cook with. And of course, as is tradition here on the Infinite Exchange, let's complete this intro. Without further ado, alright, as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. And as always, if there's a group, I almost said the Ojo Reacts. And as always, timestamps are embedded in the video, also provided in my description. And yeah, you know the drill there. Social medias are also in the outro. Everything you're looking for in this life can be found in my description. But you got that point. All right, I am chomping at the bit. All right, I can't even speak English correctly right now because all I want to talk about currently is UFC 307. Okay, UFC 307. It wasn't like I didn't even do a preview for this, which is my fault. But of course, it was headlined by. Well, we thought it was going to be a slaughter. And I mean, it was, but we got to give credit to Khalil Roundtree because it was a little bit more of a slaughter. Of course, UFC 307, headlined by one Alex Poatan Pereira taking on Khalil Roundtree Jr. And how would that go? All right, I said to my boy Zay, who you've seen on the podcast before, I said in the group chat, I said over under 2.5 rounds because somebody's getting knocked out. That's all I knew in this fight. It's Alex, it's Khalil. Somebody is going to sleep. Probably Khalil. But you know, how long is at least Roundtree going to last? 2.5? Is he going to get, one punch KO'd? Or could he take it a little bit longer? And it turned out to be over 2.5 because, ladies and gentlemen, Khalil Roundtree took 2 rounds off of Alex Pereira. Alex looked human. For the first time since he fought Izzy, Alex looked human. Even lost rounds. Looked somewhat almost out of control of the fight. I think Roundtree came in with a very good game plan. A very good game plan. The issue was he doesn't have the tank to fulfill it for 5 rounds. And unless you chin, not that Alex is unknockable, but, it's going to take a lot it took Israel Adesanya to knock out Alex Pereira. There are only a handful of men on the planet. And they are either the elite of the elite in kickboxing, or they are literally the last style bender, one of the greatest of all time, the second best middleweight to ever even put on gloves. It took that to take down Poatan. So it was never going to be easy, all right, to go through with that. But I still like the strategy. He used his speed. He had the speed advantage very, very early on. But Alex is a murderer, okay? Poatan is a murderer, and he just broke Khalil down, and he ended up with one of the most, probably going to end up iconic, one of the most mangled faces I can recall somebody saying. He got the break speed off of him in round 3, and then in round 4, Pereira entered the Matrix, and that was it. That was it. Khalil was just it was just a lamb to slaughter. That round 4. A lamb to slaughter. Alex puts him down. Fight gets stopped. Khalil's a bloody mess, and Poatan is a savage. And still, all right, light heavyweight is his. 205 is his. Middleweight, cutting all of the weight, because Alex is really a true near heavyweight, if we're being honest. I think that had adverse effects for him, and that's where, somebody like Izzy could catch him, could be on that caliber with him. But here at light heavyweight, here at 205, and honestly, I would love to see what he does at heavyweight, of course, but at 205, I don't think he's touchable. In the current moment, until age, the almighty great factor, catches up to Poatan, I don't think anybody can touch him. He's just that guy right now. We can see what Ankalaev can do, but I just, I don't know if anybody's touching Alex. Not that I thought Khalil was, but, the way he destroyed him after Khalil looked as good as anybody has in those first 2 rounds against Poatan, the way he just completely shut everything down and just brutally broke this man down and gave him the beating of his life. Poatan, like I said, I've been saying for really the past year, the baddest man on the planet. Argue with your mother. This is the baddest mother on the planet. All right, I said that. I might even, if I make this the TikTok clip, I'm saying it again. He is the baddest mother on the planet. So yeah, shout out to Alex. He does it again. But shout out to Khalil for lasting a lot longer and doing what a lot of people did not think he could do, and that's take rounds off of Poatan. So yeah, credit to Roundtree. Hopefully Dana hooks him up because he took a hell of a beating. UFC made a business decision. Not that I'm saying Juliana, you can't argue that Juliana won this fight versus Raquel to reclaim the Bantamweight Championship, but I think they made a business decision. All right, Kayla Harrison, of course, the big free agent signee, been one of the best women's mixed martial artists in the world for the past couple of years. Of course, she was over dominating PFL, has come over to the UFC. She took care of business earlier. Didn't look great, but, took care of business. But they're hot-shotting her, of course, for the title shot. And who are you going to market that fight against? Raquel Pennington or Juliana Pena? I think that was a pretty obvious decision. Not that, like I said, Pena can't, argue that she eked out the decision. But, come on. You know what I mean? Who are you really going to market the alleged super fight against? So, Kayla, Pena next. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Pena barely gets by Raquel. Barely. You can argue Raquel maybe should have kept the title. Other things, I'm just going to round up the rest of this UFC card, honestly. Batista hugged Aldo to death to a win. I don't like it. I really think we need to alter the way we do judging in a sense of guys getting credit for, I understand top control and grappling and all of that, but if you were literally, he wasn't doing anything with it. You know what I mean? And round 3 was doing nothing with it. You got to be doing some type of ground and pound, going for submissions. You still got to be active. You can't just blanket a guy and win a fight. To me, that we got to cut down on that, and that's what happened here. He blanketed Aldo and he just hugged him in the third to win the fight. I'm not really here for it, but yeah, Batista gets the win over a legend. So cool for his record, but yeah, not the most honorable way of winning. Roman broke Kevin Holland's rib. Great choice by his trainer because Kevin, as tough as he is, was getting beaten down and he had a broken rib, and that was just not pretty, and it could have been a lot worse. So yeah, he breaks Big Mouth's rib. Buckley KOs Wonderboy likely into, I could easily see Wonderboy honestly not hanging it up because he didn't hang up in the post-fight interview, but he's 42. All right, and even though he's defied and he still looks good, but as they say, and we're going to be saying this a lot today, leave the game before the game leaves you. And I think the game has left Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He's not going to win the title. There's no reason for him to be a gatekeeper when he's got such a good legacy and he's a fan favorite. And he may even mess around again to the UFC, honestly, just off of that reputation. So there's no reason for him to just obliterate his record, taking on, not that Buckley's a young gun at this point, but, take on these fringe contenders and these, people he's gatekeeping for and potentially get knocked out like he did on Saturday. There's no reason for him to do that and take that damage. Go home, be a family man. Leave the game before the game leaves you. But yeah, Buckley, vicious KO. Not the first time we said that with him, but he takes out Wonderboy. Good momentum grabbing win for him. Let's talk about college football. Because you see what shirt I got on, ladies and gentlemen. You see what shirt. You see it. Because we're going to talk very briefly before we talk about the upsets galore I'm going to be honest, this wasn't really an upset. ECU fans were talking crazy. ECU themselves were talking crazy in the build-up. And the build-up wasn't just this week. I'm talking from the moment it was announced that Charlotte and ECU were going to be in the same conference. East Carolina has been trying to pop their... It's not a rivalry. We'd rather be in the Sun Belt. They thought they were cool with App State. And you know what? With the way App State's playing and y'all are playing, y'all should run off and go be with App State. Y'all deserve each other. But y'all were just popping it all for the past 2 years. We smoked y'all last year and you kept popping it. This is their Super Bowl. Y'all are our little brother. That's what East Carolina was saying. It's not really a rivalry. It's only a big game to them. They need the rivalry. They're just trying to get up off of us. This is our Super Bowl. That was the tweet. That's cool. But I have a question, Now looking back in the past, 700 plus days of us playing, and we're 2-0, and we just dropped 50 on your head, and we're not supposed to be a very good team. We just put 50 on you. 55-24, and you got a Corsity kickoff return for a touchdown to make it a little bit prettier. It really could have been 50-10, if we're being honest. But you got off with that. You still little bro? Are we still little bro? That's my question. Because from the way it looks to me, y'all are little brother. East Carolina is our little brother. The way it looks to me is I don't know if this is really a rivalry, because as Daniel Cormier, since we were just talking UFC, once said, is it really a rivalry if the same person wins every single time? And right now the scorecard reads 2-0. And right now the scorecards are telling somebody needs to fire their head coach. I'm talking about you, Mike Houston. But you know what? I'd rather ECU continue to rot. Wilson goes for 164 and 3 touchdowns. It was glorious to watch. I watched this one in person. Norton had 88 and 2 touchdowns. We ran for over 300 yards on these bums. Purdy was dealing, looking like a confident quarterback, which I love for Charlotte because we haven't had one of those since CR3 left. Jay Garcia, bum. I mean, this dude was once a former 5-star prospect, and now he can't even cut it at ECU. What a fall off. Cat Houser's a bum too. He wasn't he wasn't much better either. Honestly, one of the best defensive performances. I will give credit to Charlotte's defense. Shout out to Biff and Co for getting that together. One of the best, most complete defensive performances I've seen. Stone Handy having a pick, the secondary, the linebackers, the D-line applying pressure. One of the most complete defensive performances I've seen Charlotte have, and just overall, one of the most complete offense, defense, special teams performances I've seen from Charlotte. We did not put, for the most part, a step wrong against ECU. Did not put a step wrong. It was glorious to watch. And yeah, I had to. ECU's been talking crazy. I had to. All right, I got to talk my to kick us off here. All right, I got to set the tone. Because it was a wild, wild week. All right, and it started on Friday. It started with Syracuse and UNLV. Of course, UNLV been one of the big stars of this year's college football, mostly because a certain quarterback named Jack decided that he wasn't getting paid enough and left, and then proceeded to lose his job anyway because the backup quarterback, HMW, ended up being better. And HMW went for 280 and 4 touchdowns in this game. And UNLV did put up 41 points. And they did take Cuse to overtime, but unfortunately they were supposed to win this game, and that is just not what happened. Yeah, LaQuint Allen gets the walk-off in OT. Cuse, even though you gave up 40, you made the defensive plays when they needed to be made, especially in that overtime period, forcing UNLV to that field goal, and then you going able to get that walk-off and moving the field. Kyle McCord threw the ball 63 times. It was not his finest performance, though. 40 for 63, 355, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Looks very, very nice, but it was not his cleanest performance. But he did the right thing, and the right thing is always to get the ball to that boy Gadsden, one of the best tight ends in the country. 10 receptions, 142. He was mint. All right, he was mint in this game for Syracuse. Diggs had 2 sacks with HMW as well. Ricky White, all right, was the primary weapon for the Rebels. He had 10 receptions, 135 and a touchdown, but it was not enough. Syracuse able to get it done at home, and they take out UNLV in OT. And that was the precursor. All right, that was the precursor to the madness that would ensue. We talked about one of my favorite teams, right? And how, the Niners got it done. The Trojans did not. My boy Kobe, who's probably watching this, shout out to you, mentioned that Minnesota might clip us. And from the moment he said that, I was like, Minnesota might clip us. And well, Minnesota clipped us. I have no idea how to feel about this USC team. I really don't. It's kind of weird because in the past couple years of the Lincoln Riley era, the whole 2 years, we had Caleb. And Caleb was so good. He was Superman, We knew he could win a game, but we didn't have the defense, right? We had this electrifying offense with the best player in college football, but we had no defense. Now, we have a very solid defense. And not that I'm putting this game on Miller, even though he threw, 2 picks in this game, including one to a safety I'm about to talk about that is a very, very special player for Minnesota. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? Shout out to Antoine Winfield. But not that Miller has been bad necessarily, but we just don't have that offense that we've seen with Lincoln Riley teams and what we've seen with USC, especially of late. We just don't have that explosiveness. We have good players, right, that should be, right? Jacoby Lane, like I said, was giving me Drake London. Zachariah Brandt should be the guy. Miller Moss is a good enough quarterback. Woody Marks ran for 134 and a touchdown in this game, right? However, the thing that seems to be undoing this team is not necessarily Lincoln's coaching or Miller or we can't run. It's the fact that we have Colorado's offensive line. We have one of the worst offensive lines in the country. Miller is fighting for his life every moment of the game. Every single moment of the game, he is fighting demons. And by demons, I mean the front seven of the opposing team. There is no break. There is no comfort. There's no time to go through reads properly. He's having to just be a tough guy, essentially, in the pocket and try to make something happen. And that's not winnable offense. It's not. So while we continue and we still need to have that future guy, hopefully Juju stays at quarterback, while we still need to get the running backs, we need the weapons, right? The glitz and the glam that comes with USC. We need those people on that offensive line. We fixed the defense. The defense is heading in the right direction. Even in this game, right? Even though we gave it up, couldn't, Bosmer on 4th and goal and we gave it up that drive, that's fine, right? In Michigan, same thing happened. We need to clean that up. But the defense compared to where it was, I can live with. This offense, I cannot. All right, so we need to get better on that offensive line because it is going to be USC's undoing and the reason why they're going to sit at 500 probably this season. We don't deserve to be ranked. We are no longer ranked. All right, Minnesota ran for 193 in this game. Bosmer had 3 touchdowns. He's the quarterback. However, Corey Persevich stole this game. True freshman captain safety for Minnesota. He's special. All right, he had the game-winning pick or game-stealing pick, should I say. He also had a forced fumble in this game. He is a beast. All right, Corey's a beast. One to look out for. I will give him his flowers. But yeah, Minnesota takes down the Trojans. And yeah, it's been an up and down start to the season for USC. Texas A&M, boy. A&M has been the joke recently, whether it was Jimbo and then they lost big earlier in this season. So a lot of people were expecting Mizzou to possibly, work these boys. No. That's not what happened. Yeah, Texas A&M went up 34-0 before Mizzou realized, oh wait, this is football. We have to score points. It ended 41-10. This was a massacre. Connor Wigman, welcome back. 309. Moss, though. Levon Moss is that guy. He's not the best running back in the country. We're going to talk about who that is when I, recap this segment. Because boy, oh boy, do we know. But he is one of the. All right, Levon Moss is made a statement. He made a firm statement on Saturday about who one of the best running backs. If you're talking about that top 10, maybe even that top 5, you need to mention his name. 138 and 3 touchdowns for him. He was cooking. Amari also had Amari Daniels. Shout out to him. Former Pop Warner legend. 2 touchdowns for him. Nick Skouerton had 1.5 sacks, 2.5 TFLs. He continues to rise up draft boards. It wasn't pretty, man. Nate Noel completely shut down. Luther Burden had a touchdown. It got called back. Will Lee sent a blanket to Theo Weiss and then completely blanketed Theo Weiss. So, yeah, everything. One of the most complete. Similar to Charlotte and ECU, this is one of the most complete games we've seen from Texas A&M in a very long time. Offensively, they had it going with Connor and Moss, and then defensively with that secondary, led, of course, by Will Lee, Skouerton in that front 7. They were cooking up. They shut down what is supposed to be a really good offense led by Brady Cook, Nate Noel, Luther Burden, Theo Weiss, right? I could go on and on with Mizzou. It's supposed to be Darth Mizzou. And they shut that down. All right, they completely shut that down. So a lot of credit to TAMU. They get the win. Cook up. Next on the plate. All right, who's next on the stake? All right, Louisville. Y'all played a very tough game against Notre Dame last week. Y'all were supposed to bounce back against SMU. This is now an ACC game, by the way. And SMU, of course, had some quarterback troubles. And, looked like they were back on track. But still, this is supposed to be the bounce back game for Louisville. Supposed to be. Yet not. The Pony Express didn't hear that. 34-27. Mr. Kevin Jennings had 384 and a touchdown. He was the engine that made this team go. All right. Shakory Brooks had three receptions, 121, and 2 touchdowns. And that was pretty much representative of Louisville, who were living off of the big play in this game. However, when you live by the big play, you can also die by the big play. And that is what happened in this game. They died by the big play. You can't rely on that for, constant offense. And they couldn't. SMU eventually was going to get a stop. They did, and they kept pouring it on, and they did get the win here. So, yeah, shout out to KJ. Cooked up almost 400 yards, like I said, in this game for him. And SMU and the Pony Express are looking very, very dangerous to the ACC hierarchy. Who's next on the stake? Or should I say, since we call him Drizzy in this episode, who's next on the list? Which one of my so-called contenders needs a clip from the... Oh, wait. Am I reading that right? Alabama. Wait. Hold on. Alabama? Come on. They played Vanderbilt, guys. Surely Alabama wasn't going to lose. After we talked about how much Jalen Milroe has grown, he's a Heisman contender. And then, there's that, he's 17. Yeah, Ryan Williams and all of the TikTok edits and how great he is. And he's generational. And, he's just a phenom. And, Bama's the new number one team. Took that from Texas, right? Bama wouldn't lose to Vandy. The last time they lost to Vandy, I wasn't even born, I don't think. Yeah, that there would never, ever happen. Ever. Surely. What's that? Oh, they lost. Yeah, and they took the uprights and threw them. They went past Broadway and threw them in the river. Wow, yeah. I don't know what Bama was doing. Especially for the first half of this game. Yeah, I don't know what they did this week in preparation. I don't know if they just were, too high off their own supply, watching too many of those great Ryan Williams TikTok edits, instead of watching film. But, the tide weren't rolling, especially in the first half of this game. Now, they made it happen in the second half. Suddenly, they were like, oh, we're Alabama. We need to, try to win this game. Oh, I'm Jalen Milroe. And, oh, my God, I have Ryan Williams right here. He's Ryan Williams. Maybe we can make something happen. It's like something clicked. But it was too little too late, even though Vandy very much so tried to give him this game at the end. But it was too little too late. Milroe had a very costly pick six early in this game to Fontenette, and that really set the tone. From the moment Vandy took the momentum with that pick six, they didn't let go. It was like they had decided, we taking this one. And a big part of that goes to that quarterback, Diego Pavia, who has one of the great stories in college football. JUCO. Then he went to Conference USA Player of the Year, and now he's at Vandy. And now he's beating Bama. All right, number one team goes down. Pavia goes over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Eli Stowers had 6 receptions, 113. And listen, Ryan Williams had 2 TDs, 1 rushing, and 1 absolutely ridiculous receiving touchdown because these freshman receivers are out of control. We're going to talk about what JJ did, don't you worry. Jihad Campbell continues to look like one of the best defensive players in the country. 12 tackles, 1.5 TFLs. However, Malachi Moore is a bitch. He is a bitch. That is the only way I can separate it. He just threw a fit. Like a little, he threw a fit. I mean, kicking the ball, throwing his mouthpiece, just crying. Terrible. You are, a very solid player. He's a very solid player. He's going to play in the NFL, but he is nowhere good enough to throw a hissy fit like that. He's not that guy. Like maybe if Caleb was still there, and Caleb Downs would never do that or stoop so low to do what Malachi Moore did, on the field at Vandy. He wouldn't stoop that low. That's not who Caleb Downs is a much higher caliber person and player than Malachi. But maybe if he was good as Caleb, I could understand it. But Malachi doing that, I don't know. I don't know. And he has a history of doing that. He's just not good enough to do that. And he didn't play good enough to really try to, be that guy. So very disappointing. Very, very disappointing from allegedly one of the best safeties in the country. But yeah, Bama struggled. They struggled in this game. They struggled. You can't sleepwalk. You can't sleepwalk against any opponent, especially this year in college football. Especially in the era we're in. You cannot sleepwalk into games and thinking it's going to be cool. You can't. You got to be on. Alabama wasn't on, and when they tried to turn it on, it was too late. Vandy wasn't giving it up, and Vandy didn't give it up. Shout out to Diego, an electrifying post-game interview from him, and yeah, he's king in Vandy right now and king in Nashville. Bama goes down. We're not done with you SEC teams. All right? We're not done with you. We're not done with you top 5 formerly SEC teams. Because all of the great quarterbacks I've been hyping, and giving flowers to, it's time to take some of them flowers back. Nico is going to be a phenomenal talent. He is a phenomenal talent. He played the worst game of his life. One of them, at least. One of the worst games of his life against Arkansas, and they paid the piper. Boy, did they pay the piper. He looked like a first-year starter in this game because Arkansas shut him down, had him seeing ghosts. Sampson had 138 and 2 touchdowns, but ladies and gentlemen, as I so famously say, it was not enough. Andrew Armstrong had 9 receptions, 134, and they had 4 sacks in Nico. James Pierce played a great game for Tennessee. However, it wasn't enough. Arkansas gets it done 19-14. Good gracious, that program needed this win. Sam Pittman needed this win. All right, how many losses does he have to the elite of the SEC, right? And that was one of the big drawbacks because he was supposed to elevate this Arkansas team. And finally, against a Tennessee team that we had marked as one of the most dangerous in the country, shut him down. Just completely shut him down. Great job from that defense and Andrew Armstrong on that offensive side, and they get it done. Take out Nico. Take out Tennessee. Who's next on the list? We're not done. Who's next on the list? You knew this was going to happen. You knew at a certain point their luck was going to run out. You can't not have a passing game in 2024 and expect to just keep winning. It was going to run out at some point. All right, it was going to be either Washington or whoever. It was going to run out, and ladies and gentlemen, against Washington in the national championship rematch, time ran out on Michigan. All right, Washington gets the win 27-17 to pull off the upset. They realized, oh wait, everybody's just going to stack the box. Khalil Mullins isn't getting off. Edwards played a little bit better of a game, but Jack Tuttle had to come in at quarterback. He wasn't very good, as we all know. And yeah, I mean, that's costly. That's just far too costly. Will Rogers goes 271, 2 touchdowns and a pick, and Washington is able to pull off the upset. Michigan you can't play with you can't be one-dimensional and play an archaic, 1940s or service. You're just not going to win. You're just not going to win. And yeah, Michigan's fact that they don't have a quarterback finally comes to haunt them, and Washington catches in some checks and gets some revenge here on Saturday. Who's next on the list? It should have been, for the second straight week, Miami survives. All right, they were down 38-18 in the fourth quarter against Cal, which also had College Game Day this week, by the way. Down 38-18, down 20 with 13 minutes to go in the fourth. And then Cam Ward just decided, you know what, we're not losing. And the refs a little bit also decided that Miami wasn't losing. But I will give Cam his flowers, all right, because we were about to rag on him because he do one of the worst, all right? He had 3 touchdowns, by the way, 437, great game for Cam. But he threw one of the worst interceptions I've seen in my life, okay? It was bad. He thought he was like Caleb, and he tried to roll out, and then he threw all the way across the field. The most telegraphed interception I've ever seen in my life. But, yeah, horrible from him. And he didn't play a great game to start. But similar to Bama, except fortunes reversed, closed very, very well, and they were able to get it done. Xavier Restrepo continues to be a very underrated receiver. 7 receptions, 163 in the country. They held Jaden Ott in check for the most part, which is the key to beating the scout team. You got to hold Ott in check. He still had his moments. He's had that one big play. I think it was a touchdown receiving. But besides that, didn't run the ball. Didn't get that many carries, but also didn't run the ball crazy. I think they did a really good job on Ott and kind of keeping him out of the game, for whatever reasons, and whatever game plan, stylistic choices they made. They did a really good job with that. So credit where credit's due to Miami. But yeah, they survived, okay? They survived this game. It was not pretty. Ward threw that pick 6. That was ugly. And they got out. By the skin of their teeth, they got out and were not the next name on the list. But boy, oh boy, should they have been. Jeremiah Smith. I said we were going to talk about him. He still needs only one hand to wrap up this college football segment. And literally was stiff arming him in and grabbed it just dudes. He could be wide receiver 1 this year. I'm so serious. If he was in the draft this year as an 18-year-old, he would go as the number 1 receiver off the board, either over Burden or really T-Mac. As great as those guys are, Jeremiah Smith appears to be generational, and he's done nothing to disprove that. Emeka also had a hat trick of touchdowns in this game, so a lot of fun for OSU versus Iowa this week. However, the Heisman favorite is Ashton Jeanty after this week because Boise State dropped 63 on Utah State, and Jeanty had 186 in the first half, by the way. He didn't play the second half. He had 186 and 3 touchdowns in the first half. For the records, ladies and gentlemen, he has 5 games. All right, it took 5 games for AJ to get to 1,000 yards. It took him under 100 carries to get to that mark. Over 1,000 yards, and oh, by the way, in 5 games, he has 16 rushing touchdowns. That's some road to glory stuff. This is a road to glory player we're seeing right now. As great and as iconic as what Trav is doing right now is and how special that is, I'm sorry. The Heisman Trophy favorite, the Heisman Trophy leader right now, and of course it's only the first week of October, has to be AJ. Has to be Ashton Jeanty for what he's doing with Boise State. All right, it's insane. If you're seeing what you've been able to witness that and seeing how he's running and what he's doing to these teams, it's crazy. All right, he is on an incredible run. Made himself running back one currently in the draft, and yeah, he is on Barry Watch. All right, we are on Barry Watch. We will see what Jeanty can do over the season, and of course, we will cover that here on the 815 Exchange. Now, let's talk entertainment. All right, let's talk entertainment. Industry finally wrapped up, and honestly, it was perfect, okay? What an incredible season of television. What an incredible finale. It honestly felt like a series finale. I clearly was definitely thought of as we don't know if we're going to get renewed. We don't know if the show's going to pop off. So we're going to end this, as close to a finale while being somewhat open-ended as possible. Because, I mean, it wrapped up everything. Rob left to Cali, right? Him and Yaz admitted they love each other, finally did the deed. But then she, of course, chose what, of course, Yaz is going to choose, which is, living in the comfort of wealth as much as she loves Rob. She's good at making people feel something. And the family, the Mucks, are able to give her that. So she ends up marrying Henry. Harper and Yaz patch everything up. Harper wins, right? She wins. She takes down Pierpoint, right? She's on top of the world. And then she realizes that this is boring. These people are literally trying to be a community and be coworkers and not be stressed. And that's just not, all right? If it's not toxic, she's not doing it, all right? She can't do it. So, end of days, all right? End of days for Harper. She says, I'm out of here. I'll see y'all. And yeah, we'll see what happens with Eric. He's a free agent now. Got paid $20 million. Adler died. Rest in peace. And yeah, I mean, it was just a very fulfilling finale. We will see what happens. Penguin stuff, I forgot to put this in, but Sophia, Oz, linking up. We'll see what happens tonight. Let's talk music though. All right, Ian, he's back. End up gone. Very, very good. All right, very, very good. Not like excellent version, not my favorite Ian track ever, but some good stuff. All right, it appears he's got another project coming out. He might also be doing something with Black Boy Max. Shout out to the Phase Boys, Phase Up. But yeah, Ian back in form, end up gone, very good. Aitch still in form. He did FWG, more good stuff. He's got a project coming up. We know that. Lisa also has a project coming up. She dropped Moonlit Floor this week after a performance at not Governor's Ball, but I can't remember the charity event. I didn't like it's kind of a give and take. She's kind of got to figure out which one she's going to go with. I didn't like the lip syncing either, though it wasn't as completely lip synced as a lot of people were like making it out to be. But she's got to choose. She's obviously, the dancing is the calling card. Not that she can't sing, but the dancing is her as like a performer. That's her thing, right? And to sometimes do what she does, it can be a little bit harder to sing while doing it. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but a little bit more difficult. And she's just going to have to figure out and grow as a performer in that aspect, because for her to be doing the Western expansion she's going for as a global superstar, she's going to have to be able to, people care about lip syncing over here. Sure, frankly, people care about lip syncing a lot as a performer and where they grade you out in pop. So she's going to have to figure that out, but she did drop Moonlit Floor, which claimed all of the headlines as she hard launched her relationship with one Frederick Arnault, one lucky man. But yeah, that love song to him. French Boy, Green-Eyed French Boy got me tripping. Dropped, solid song, more good stuff from Lisa. Very excited to see what her project looks like in full. But ladies and gentlemen, that was ENT. And that, of course, brings us to the National Football League. Yes, the National Football League. It's been a very interesting week already. We start off Thursday, okay? The best Thursday night game we've had so far. Naturally, shout out to the Falcons and the Bucks. Kirko Chains. 509 4 TDs. Yes, Kirk Cousins is in fact that guy. All right, he is him. Kadero Hodge, by the way, that was an insane run to walk this thing off in OT. But I have to give credit to Kirko Chains because, yeah, he has made Atlanta a happy place again, a good place again, and potentially a good team again. All right, they're 3-2. This was a huge win. Of course, them and the Bucks are fighting for supremacy in that division. They are probably the top two teams, depending on how you feel about the Saints. And this was a huge win at home in OT. Baker played really well. He had 180 and 3 touchdowns in this game, right? But Kirk would not be denied. All right, he just would not be denied in this game. Drake London also had 12 receptions, 154 and a touchdown. I almost cried tears because my boy has a quarterback and can be the guy that we all know Drake London is. Fight on. Darryl Mooney as well continues to stay hot this season. 9 receptions, 105 and 2 touchdowns for him. Like I said, Hodge had that 45-yarder to walk us off. And the Bucks didn't play bad, all right? By any means, did not play bad. Had opportunities to win this game, however, and did not take them. And Kirk O'Chains and Drakeo, the king, took over. ATL, you up, all right? You up. Let's keep it rolling, all right? Because we went to London, and why do with the NFL, and this was probably supposed to be a decent game, but the NFL in Europe just makes for some bad football for whatever reason. It's so rough, but they don't know any better. They probably like, man, this might have been a good game for their standards, just because the London games are always just like cheeks. But Vikings get it done, 23-17, and I got really nothing else to say. All right, Sam didn't play great in this game, but boy, he was not the worst. Garrett Wilson, by the way, welcome back, 13 receptions, 101 and a touchdown. But Aaron Rodgers, I'm so sorry, you're a legend. And by the way, Jets, you can't keep letting the Packers do this to you. You can't. All right, stand up. Stand up. All right, stand up for yourself. You can't keep getting disrespected by Green Bay like this. All right, they keep sending these legendary quarterbacks to go be a retirement home in New York. You can't keep letting that happen. All right, but Aaron Rodgers, as I said for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, unfortunately, my brother, you should leave the game before the game leaves you. And unfortunately, I think it's a little too late for that because the game has left you. Ladies and gentlemen, as of today, October 6th, I'm currently recording this at 5:22 p.m. on the East Coast. I pronounce Aaron Rodgers washed. Nothing else needs to be said. Congrats. Oh, yeah, Sauce didn't play a great game against Jettas. That was not fun. Not completely his fault. Some of those calls were But yeah, Sauce did not look very elite against Jettas. And yeah, the Jets, no good, very bad game in London. A lot of OT games this week, all right? By the way, that's going to be a recurring theme, and we're going to keep that going with the Ravens and the Bengals, who are now 1-4. Yes, the Ravens are able to get it done. Justin Tucker does make this field goal. 41-38. All right, he also hit one from 56 with 135, so maybe JT is back. Maybe JT is back. Lamar nearly gave this game away, though. As great of a game as he played, by the way. 26 for 42. Over 400 yards total, 4 touchdowns through the air, 348 and 4 touchdowns as well. As great of a game. All right, Lamar was elite in this game. That fumble in OT had me thinking, oh boy. But a missed field goal gave the Ravens back, and then Derrick Henry did what Derrick Henry has done all season. A long, I think it was the 55-yarder, which was his longest rush of the day, pushed him to the 92 and a touchdown. He nearly housed it there, but yeah, that put the Ravens in a position to win this game, and they were able to get it done. Zay Flowers, finally, and he's on my fantasy team, so I would know, some receptions and 111 in this game. Roquan Smith was tackling anything with a pulse. All right, if it breathed, if it moved, Roquan Smith tackled it in this game. The Bengals have to be stunned. Joe Burrow went 30 for 39, 392, and 5 touchdowns. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5. And you lost. And you lost. You can't put this game on the offense. T. Higgins had 2 touchdowns. Jamar Chase goes 10 receptions, 193 and 2. Your offense did everything they were supposed to do, but that defense was non-existent. Now, we know you're playing Lamar. You're playing Derrick Henry. 2 superstars. But this was horrid, all right? Horrid defense from the Bengals, and of course it ends up costing them the game in the end, and the Ravens get a much-needed win, and the Bengals lose a must-win game here early on in the season. They weren't the only team in a must-win situation, however. Jacksonville was on the verge of 0-5, and if they lost to the Colts at home, then boy, oh boy, we're beyond uncomfortable conversations, and oh boy, what happened to the Jacks? What happened? Because they're almost playing like, I don't want to say that, Carolina, but, we were headed in that direction. But the Jaguars were able to get it done. Cam Little hits a 49-yarder to win this game. T-Law was a little bit better than this game. All right, a little bit better. 28 for 34, 371, 2 touchdowns. Did have a very, very ugly pick. Tank Bigsby is making me pay for not even benching him, but sending him to the cut line. 101 and 2 touchdowns. I should have capped the boy. Brian Thomas Jr. has his breakout day. 5 receptions, 122 and a touchdown. Of course, a lot of that was that 85-yard touchdown. But still, Trayvon Walker going for 3 sacks in this game was huge. And the Jags, all right? Probably one of their more complete games, even though they still gave up 34. But you'll take it, all right? Joe Flacco continues to be dangerous, okay? 359 and 3 touchdowns. How is Joe Flacco less washed than Aaron Rodgers? And A-Rod has more weapons. Like, it's crazy. Anyway, credit where credit's due. Alec Pierce continues to emerge as one of the premier deep threats, by the way, in the country, in the world, on the planet, on the earth. 3 receptions, 134 and a touchdown for Alec. But it was not enough. The Jags are able to get it done, 37-34. Credit where credit's due. The Pats and the Dolphins played some horrible football today. The Dolphins were able to finally get a win, 15-10. I'm not going to sit here and bore you with the details. Shout out to Ramondre Stevenson for scoring a touchdown for my fantasy team. But yeah, it's ugly, all right, for both of these teams. Okay, this is a mediocre game with 2 mediocre teams, so you can probably just kind of figure out what happened from there. Jaden Daniels continues his bid for Rookie of the Year, and boy, oh boy, does he look like he's getting closer and closer every single week to fulfilling that destiny. They take out the Browns, 34-13. We're going to talk about the Bears, though. JD, not crazy, but another over 300-yard game with the touchdown. Did have that interception, but still cooking up, being the guy that Washington seems to apparently needed to break them out. They are 4-1. The Browns are the opposite. They're 1-4, and it does not look good. Deshaun Watson, by the way, unfortunately, leave the game before the game leaves you. Unfortunately, it wasn't your fault that the game left you, but boy, oh boy, it appears that the game did leave you while you were gone. So yeah, hasn't been great there. T. McLaurin, all right, not a McLaren, but a McLaurin. 4 receptions, 112 in this game, continues to be that lead guy. Frankie Louvu had 2.5 sacks. Wagner had 1.5, looking like he was back in Seattle. They sacked Deshaun 7 times in this game. And the Commanders, unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, still look like a good team. All right, they still look like a very, very, very good team. The Texans and the Bills. Okay, the Bills have officially come back down to earth. Welcome. Josh Allen got beat up in this game, and boy, oh boy, did he not play a very good one. 9 for 30. 9 for 30 in this game, under 200 yards. Stroud wasn't flawless, but I mean, you go 9 for 30 and under 200 yards, you ain't winning nothing. All right, James Cook had 82 and a touchdown, tried to do what he could. Keon Coleman tried to carry Josh Allen, but it was not to be. All right, the Texans had it down. They get the win 23-20, and yeah, they pushed to 4-1, and they are right back on track and commanding that AFC South. It was a rough game. I mean, every game's a rough game if we're being honest for the Carolina Panthers. But it was a rough game. Because Caleb Williams seemed to have figured out this week, by the way. 20 for 29, 304 and 2 touchdowns. But the fact that DJ Moore was the lead guy, 5 receptions, 105 and 2 touchdowns. The quarterback you could have had if you didn't trade for Bryce. And the receiver you gave up to get Bryce. And both of them just start getting it off in this game. That's rough, buddy. That's rough, buddy. I'm not going to lie to you. That's real rough. All right, so my condolences to the Panthers, but the Browns, all right, you could be the Browns. If any kind of, consolation, you could be them. All right, with no hope. At least you have Bryce, and maybe you can fix him since you broke him. All right, but I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I don't even know if the Browns are as bad as the Panthers, okay? Andy Dalton came back down to earth. Had a pick in this game under 200 yards. So, yeah, Bears defense continues to show up. And, of course, that's a little bit easier when you're playing the Carolina Panthers. Let's be real. But, yeah, Caleb seems to have figured some stuff out. He gets better every single week. Him and DJ Moore had it dialed in. So, yes, this was also the no good, very good game. The no good, very bad game for the Carolina Panthers. And the very good, all great things game for the Chicago Bears, who are in bliss, Panthers in disaster. Continuing on here as we have now reached the 4 o'clock, it's the end of the 4 o'clock window. The Broncos took care of the Raiders, all right, 34-18. Very good game. All right, Brock Bowers, by the way, had a great game for the Raiders, but that was pretty much the only thing good that happened in this game. Aiden O'Connell had to come in for Minshew. If AOC comes in for Minshew, that pretty much tells the story of what happened for the Raiders. But yeah, probably the best game I'd say for the Broncos this year in terms of like a team game. And also probably the best game of Bo Nix's young career. 206, 2 touchdowns. Didn't turn the ball over. So, yeah, not too bad. They'll take that. They moved to 3-2, by the way. The Broncos very quietly 3-2. That defense doing a lot of that heavy lifting, but still very, very good from them. The Arizona Cardinals. Listen, I hate to say it, man. I'm so sorry, San Fran fans, but I feel like because of one, Pat Mahomes, and because of two injuries, the Super Bowl window is coming to a close. All right, after today, I feel like the Super Bowl window is coming to a close because the team is falling apart injury wise, and then every time you get to the dance, 15 is just waiting there like, the Reaper. And here today, the Arizona Cardinals, who I just cannot figure out. All right, I can't figure out. Sometimes they look like they are the best, worst team in the league. Like they are the best, worst team in the league. Like I feel like in any different day, they can beat anybody, but on any day they can lose to anybody. And on this day, they were able to make the comeback and they were able to take care of San Fran. Start off really well. Kyler Murray with a 50-yarder to kick us off. But then San Fran very quickly took control of this game. Jake Moody unfortunately got hurt in this game, and that ends up being very costly because Mitch is a great punter. He's not a kicker. All right, he did miss one field goal. He ended up making a 26-yarder in this game, but he did miss a kick in this game, and they lost by one because Chad Ryland got to go ahead with 35 to go. Purdy did not play a great game. He went 19 for 35, 2 interceptions. On the other hand, Kyler's slightly more efficient, but of course, what he did on his feet was really the difference maker in this game for the Cardinals. And yeah, like I said, man, I feel like injuries are just they're killing the 49ers. Like all of these stars, all of these stars, all of these major factors that make that machine go are falling. And then it does not feel like that window is going to be open for much longer for the 49ers because, time I don't feel like is really on their side anymore. But yeah, Cardinals continue, like I said, to be the best worst team in the league. The Packers and the Rams. All right, the Rams had a golden opportunity at home to take care of it. However, Jordan Love is back, which means the Packers are back on their bull. All right, they're back on their bull. Jordan, 224, 2 touchdowns in his return. Josh Jacobs also got in the box. Rams tried to make a comeback at the end. Matthew Stafford had it looking very, very dangerous, but it was not to be. All right, it was not to be. Demarcus Robinson did catch that touchdown, did not get the 2 point, and then they weren't able to kind of complete it. Kyren Williams went over 100 yards, and Stafford did not play a bad game. But Jordan Love and this Packers team just were not going to be denied, and they were able to hold on and take out the Rams. The Giants and the Seahawks. This one ended on a field goal block. I mean, it looked like all hope was cooked. We're about to go to overtime, 55 seconds to go. Geno Smith has done everything necessary to send this game into overtime. And then the Seahawks let the Giants get the block. And ladies and gentlemen, the New York Giants, out of the abyss for 1 week. All right, for 1 week. They could very well lose next week and probably will lose next week, let's be honest with the New York Giants. However, this week they're 2-3. All right, Darius Slayton had a really good game. 8 receptions, 122 and a touchdown. Daniel Jones had his best game of the season, 257 and 2 touchdowns for him. Tyrone Tracy had a breakout with 129 yards. And that's not like he had like a big, as long as it was 27. So those were a good 100 yards on only 18 carries. So yeah, shout out to TT Jr. Dexter Lawrence, however, was a demon. All right, the Giants' defensive line in front seven as a whole was a demon. They had 7 sacks of Geno in this game. But Dexter Lawrence once again had to remind everybody why he is one of the best interior linemen in the world today. And really has been since he got drafted out of Clemson. He pretty much instantaneously became an anchor and a star for the Giants. And despite, the cellar that they've been living in for the past couple of years, Big Dex has been that, main consistent force. So yeah, shout out to Dex for cooking up. Geno, like I said, got them in position to win this game. But, I think the Seahawks overall, the route, there's too many opportunities where they had momentum and then they were just losing it. Now, credit to, like I said, to the Giants, defense, all the sacks, all the pressures, but too many missed opportunities is not going to win you a game. And even against a team the caliber of the Giants, it's not going to happen for you. So the Seahawks do fall. A great way to end it, however, for the Giants. And you know what? A good week. All right, a good week for New York. Cowboys and Steelers play today, which is going to dictate my mood for tomorrow. So we will see what happens there. You will know by now who won that game. But, hopefully that goes well for the Dallas Cowboys because we certainly need to win that game. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the Roundup. And yes, NASCAR has returned to the A15 Exchange. We had Talladega, of course, which is one of my favorite. If you know, I love super speedway racing, so this is my cup of tea. And once again, it delivered an incredible finish. Brad Keselowski, unfortunately, it was not to be. He will not be clinching himself a spot into the next round. William Byron is, but he didn't win this race. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. did. The Chaos of Dega delivers once again a very unknown winner. Stenhouse, or not, Stenhouse is an unknown, but an unexpected winner, should I say. But yeah, he wins by, I think, 6 thousandths. Very close finish. Another very good Talladega Classic. So yeah, shout out to Stenhouse. Watch the highlights of that race if you haven't seen it or you missed it watching football like I did. Now, baseball is going on. All right, we are the AL and NLDSs. Rest in peace to some of you wild card teams. Orioles. That couldn't get it done. All right, you couldn't get it done, so you weren't invited to the party. So yeah, we've had the first two games, really the first games, but the first two for a couple kick off today. Of course, starting with my New York Yankees, went back and forth with the Kansas City Royals, but we were able to get it done 6-5 to start us off well. Glaber and Doogie had very, very good games. So I've been very critical. Really, everybody's been very critical of both of those players. But me especially with, Verdugo and the fact that we have Jason Dominguez waiting in the wings and Doogie didn't play a good year. All right, he didn't have a good year. However, he showed up when it mattered in this game. Back in blood, baby. Back in blood. Very funny thing about this game one, though, with the Yankees and the Royals, which of course features the top two MVP candidates in the AL in Aaron Judge and Bobby Witt Jr. Both of them went a combined 0-9 in this game. So yeah, the two MVPs did not show up, but everybody else did, and the Yankees were able to get that game one win. Of course, we will see what happens there. Guardians dominate the Tigers, who are riding high and riding a wave of momentum. Of course, they've got the prospective Cy Young winner in Tariq Skubal, but that was not enough. And they also just called up Jackson Jobe. So yeah, a lot of to be happy about in Detroit. However, game one will go to the Guardians. They dominate that 7-0. Wash off the Tigers. Going to be a very interesting series, though. I feel like we could see some stars emerge from both of those two teams. A lot to gain in this ALDS series between those two. I think a lot of people have, a lot of the favorites between, being the Yankees and probably the Royals in that AL. And of course, those are playing each other. So I think that opens up a big window for the Guardians and Tigers to really build momentum in this series. So we will see what happens. Phillies played the Mets today. And after losing game one, what would go down? Well, the Phils were able to get it back 7-6 thanks to Nick Castellanos. Listen, nothing tragic happened today as far as I know. So this was just Castellanos hooping, all right? But he did get the walk-off single to give the Phillies a much-needed, all right? A much-needed. The Mets, very similar to what I just said about Detroit, have been riding high. Had a great wild card. Lindor, it was swaggering, all right? The Mets feeling like they were back, and they won game one. Need to shut off the momentum. So the Phillies, a team with a lot of playoff experience, this group over the past couple years, and they were able to get it done. Came through in the clutch. Shout out to Nick. And I think playoff Harper, it's time to cook up now. The Dodgers, all right, the Dodgers, who, by the way, play the Padres in game two. You will know who won. That, by the time you were watching this. But the Dodgers did get it done in game one, 7-5. Thanks to that man, all right, the NL MVP. I'm just going to say it because he's going to win his third MVP. Shohei Ohtani does hit a home run in his playoff debut. It feels so crazy to say it's his playoff debut. But I guess the one pro of him going to the other team in LA is that he will be playing meaningful baseball. So we get the best player in baseball after we didn't have it for so many years with Trout actually playing meaningful baseball in October. So love that, and we'll get to some more, I'm sure, iconic Ohtani moments. But this is going to be a very good series. I'm not going to lie to you. Start off with a really good game one. I think game two is going to be a banger as well. But yeah, Padres, Dodgers, two very talented teams in the NL. Very similar to the Yankees and the Royals, and where this is probably the side with the two favorites to come out of the NL. Facing off each other here in the divisional series. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Dodgers, Ohtani start off hot. WNBA playoffs, all right? Who's going to the WNBA finals? We got one team already, but we ain't going to talk about them yet. As the Sun, all right? The Sun were able to get it done today and tie up the series to send it to a game 5, 92-82 over the Lynx. Now listen, Fee is still every single week, bro. We were talking about Nafisa Collier. And once again, Nafisa Collier, 29-13. However, she was a one-man show, or should I say one-woman show, for the Lynx in this game. And of course, it's playoff time. and you're playing the best of the best of the best, you gotta have a team performance, and they didn't have that today. All right, they had Fee, and that was it. On the complete opposite side, the thing that makes this team dangerous is they have a great team. They're deep. All right, even though AT and Bonner, the dynamic duo, the first couple of the W right now, all right, even though they're the two headliners, this is a team. The Sun have a team. And they showed that off here in Game 4. AT had 18, 8, and 11. She's consistently on triple-double watch. DB had 18 and 8. Ty Harris had a big 20 points. And Dejanay had 15 for the most improved player in the league this year. So, yeah, great team performance for the Sun. Necessary here in Game, 4 against elimination. Fee has been dominating. Lynx riding high. You got to send it to there. That's the performance you got to have. Sun, Game 5. Honestly, I would favor them in Game 5, as good as Collier has been. However, we will not be going to a Game 5. Even though the Aces sent it to a Game 4 and prevented the sweep, it was not to be. As the Liberty, yes, finally, the New York Liberty enact revenge, and they end the three-peat chance for the Las Vegas Aces, 76-62. I think, and I said this last week, I think we all saw this coming. The Aces did not have it this year. For whatever reason, they did not have it this season. All right, and we saw that. We saw that here. We saw that throughout this series. Played, very easy. No sweat first round, but they just never were able to get that consistency. I don't know if it was missing Candace or what it was, but it felt like the Aces just did not have the magic that they've had the past 2 years. And unfortunately, looking at, some of the ages, Alicia Clark is 37. Chelsea's getting older. She hasn't looked like the same player since coming back from injury. I wonder how much longer this window is going to be open for the Aces. Of course, they've had a great run these past couple of years, but I wonder if this could be the tide turning down the slope with the Liberty getting this win and looking like so much. They looked substantially like the better team in this series and throughout the season. They've looked like what we've seen the Aces look like. They really took over that top spot and will be the favorites going into the WNBA Finals. They got the win here in Game 4, 76-62. Sabrina. Sab had 22 with 5 threes. She's been phenomenal. All right. Besides Fee, she has been the best player in the playoffs. Even over, of course, you can throw Asia in there because she's the MVP. But I would dare say that Sab and Fee have been the playoff MVP so far for the W. So, shout out to Sab, one of the best in the world. Stewie. A lot of people say she's the second best in the world. She looked like it in this game. All right, 19, 14, and 5. That's the performance you need. Going against Asia, who had 19 and 10 in this game, you need Stewie to show up and be Stewie. Stewie was Stewie, and that leads to a lot of good things for the Liberty. And now it's put them in a very good position, a very, very good position to finally get that title that they've been chasing for the past 3 years that they've been, united in this quote-unquote super team. The thing for the Aces in this game, besides the fact that he just didn't have it, it seemed, Asia had 19 and 10, which, you know what? It's not her 24 and, 13 or whatever, but still should be enough on a team like the Aces to get it done. But Chelsea Gray's a non-factor. KP goes 5 for 18, and Jackie Young goes for 1 for 10. You're not going to win. You're not going to win. When your other star players, KP, Jackie, those other guards built around Asia, don't show up in the manner that they did not show up in this game, you're not going to win. You're not going to win. No matter the talent, no matter how great that individual player is, very similar to what I just talked about with the Lynx, a great team is always going to trump a great player in basketball. We've seen it countless times on the men's side, right? Jordan, very young Jordan, great player, best player in the league already, but he couldn't beat the Bad Boy Pistons because they had a better team. Young Braun, right? Becoming clear as day, the force in the league. But in 2007, wasn't ready. That team was not good enough to beat a great team in the Spurs. So, once again, you're seeing that kind of reflected here. Great players do not trump great teams in basketball, and that's what we're seeing in the W. Of course, I think the Liberty got it. I think Liberty Sun is what we're going to end up with. But if he can get it done and, continue the run, that would be great. But we will see. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, that is episode 218. I am Ocho, and I am signing off.